whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. Obviously, we start off the show talking about the dramatic 27-17 come from behind victory by the Washington football team yesterday. So many different layers of that game to peel back. We'll talk about a lot of things tonight and tomorrow night before turning our attention on Wednesday to the Arizona Cardinals. But I told you guys yesterday, bask in the glory of this win. Take it for what it's worth. It's one game. And there's a lot more of a season to go. Don't take what you saw in this game and extrapolate it over 16 weeks. That's not something that you should be doing here. I'm not telling you to taper your expectations. Be excited. However, understand that this is a young football team, and I'm going to highlight some of the things that I took notes on early in the ball game when the team was struggling. But before we get to any of the talk of yesterday's football game, from an analysis standpoint, looking at some of the things that were a little bit off-putting and some things that the team does need to clean up, and also talking about some of the good things that they were able to do, I do want to give you something that we had talked about. I know I talked about various times on this program and other programs when talking about the upcoming game. I told you we were going to win this football game. I was confident. I had guaranteed it earlier in the summer. And so I talked about how I would really be looking forward to the victory speech in the locker room, how Rivera getting a game ball would be received, and how they would interact with one another once they got in that locker room, how it would be a great scene. Well, Washington has done a great job in giving us a close look inside the locker room with the mic'd up segments that they've been doing and all the interviews that they've been putting out here in this COVID situation. They gave us a look into the locker room. Ron's speech to the team after the win. It was a great scene. And if you haven't watched it, you should go and do yourself a favor. It's only 2.5 minutes of Ron Rivera talking and the team embracing one another. However, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I've got the audio here. I can't give you the visual as well. That's not mine to give, but I can give you the audio of it. So take a listen to Ron Rivera as he addresses the team after a big 27-17 victory in week number 1.
Wow. First, I want to give. Where's Ryan Kerrigan? All-time team sack leader. We got to watch the tape. There's going to be a few more, but I want to give this to the coordinators, guys, because I've had my struggles, and they've been great, all of them. Jack.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck played that first quarter, dressed in burgundy. But the guys that played second, third, fourth quarter, they knew what the fuck it was all about.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you guys, I'm telling you, you guys are the real deal, okay? I didn't know, nobody knew, but when I saw you guys turn your ass around and get it going in the second quarter, it made me realize just exactly how good you guys can be. Trust me, fellas, it's in here. It really is. You look at what we did as an offense, as a defense, as a special teams against that team, the defending NFC East champs, that tells you can play. Now, don't get a big fucking head, because next week we got another task.
Yes, sir.
It's a completely different football team.
Yes, sir.
But we take them one at a time. Enjoy this, because you guys earned the right to enjoy this one. I'll tell you that much right now. Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing too, guys. It's a humbling experience to win, it's a humbling experience to lose. Be humble, be forthright, and again, whatever you do, be the Washington football team.
Like Coach said, guys.
First win as head coach.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is just the beginning of who we can become, guys. Believe in it, believe in the process. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So you got a chance to hear the raw emotion of the team and Ron Rivera, and it's so great to hear that passion in everyone's voice. And, watching listening doesn't do it any justice. Watching it is even better. I'll leave the link in the description of this video if you want to go and check out the actual video that accompanies that audio that you heard just now. But that was great to see. Obviously, this team worked extremely hard to get to where they are, and there was a buying in process that had to take place. Rivera even talked about it in his presser today, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. But what I want to focus on right now, and we'll get to that later on as we get into in other news, but what I want to focus on right now is I want to pour a little bit of water on this ridiculous fire that started yesterday, because a lot of you were excited, as I've heard from a lot of you since I've started engaging you guys. Some of you guys were extremely excited yesterday, as you should have been. I was too. I got caught up in the excitement of yesterday. Even though I thought it was coming, it's still, you can't prepare for things. And then when to fall down 17, it's the way it happened. Had we just dominated game start to finish and won 27-17, I don't think the excitement that we had yesterday would have been the same. But for us to fall down 17-0, show the resolve that this team has lacked for years, come back, and not only come back, but not have to sweat out a 3-point victory, but to dominate them in the fashion that we did and win going away by double figures. It's a big statement made by this football team that this isn't what you're accustomed to, and this could be different this time around. But there were some things that this team did not do well, and let's not fool ourselves. For the 27 points that were scored in this football game, the vast majority of them was created by the defense making short fields, creating short fields for the offense to then score. The offense didn't put together an 11-play 87-yard drive, rather an 11-play 58-yard drive, or a 9-play 47-yard drive. That's what they were doing in this game. Hell, after the Jimmy Moreland interception, I think it still took us 7 or 8 plays to get in the end zone, but we got in. Fortunately, we got in, but it took us a while. And we were literally, I want to say, inside the 20-yard line. So, again, we're a work in progress. I said all of that to say this. We're a work in progress. And I want to read you my notes. I wanted to do this on Washington football overtime yesterday, but the excitement was just too much. I couldn't damper the spirits of you guys out there with the things that I had written down, because the start to the game, as you heard Rivera say, I don't know who the hell those guys that were in the burgundy jerseys were in the first quarter. I don't know who those guys were, because what we saw in the first quarter was disheartening. It was too much of a reminder of where we've come from and what we've been. It looked eerily similar. The third and long conversions, the dumb penalties, the self-inflicted wounds, the tight ends being wide open and us not being able to cover them. All of these things reeked of past Washington football teams. So I do want to remind you that everything is not all good. We're not the Baltimore Ravens or the Chiefs or any of the elite teams that are currently in the league. We've got a lot of work to do. I think a lot of you understand that. Some of you, however, may not. But the first thing that I put down in my notes, Jimmy Moreland gets to start over Fab. I thought that was interesting, because we heard all offseason about how Ronald Darby, especially camp, how impressive he's been. So I expected Darby to be out there, whether, Kendall Fuller was healthy or not. But it was that other corner that we weren't sure about. They decided to go with Jimmy Moreland. Jimmy balled. Like I said, I love Jimmy Moreland. Have been a huge fan of him since he came out of James Madison. And I felt like it was only a matter of time. And remember, I was a big advocate for Jimmy playing outside. Remember, the last regime thought he was too small to play outside, and they just automatically tried to stick him inside. And I'm like, why can't he play outside? Jimmy's shown us the ability that he can tackle, and Jimmy's shown us the ball skills. And he showed that to us in college. We knew he was fully capable. It was all about confidence. And I didn't think the last group instilled confidence in him that he could play outside. This group, however, has. And he got the nod. I thought it was intriguing that he got the nod over Fab Moreau. I just assumed, okay, no Kendall Fuller week 1. They're going to turn to Fab Moreau on the outside. Jimmy's going to get inside, and that's how they're going to do it. And they said, no. Jimmy's one of our better corners on the outside. We're going to stick him out there opposite of Ronald Darby, and it worked out for us. And then, what's crazy is that Fab may still be the best corner that we have. I'm not quite sure that that's not the case. Jimmy's right there, though. Watching the film is going to tell me a lot about how all these guys played as individuals. But seeing the plays that were made, Jimmy seems to be the guy right now that stands out at the cornerback position, as a tackler, busting stuff up, play recognition, understanding what the team is trying to do to him. And, Jimmy looks like he's locked in. So that was the first thing I put in my notes. But I put down Eagles start fast, Washington starts conservative. And so remember, we got the ball first. I did not like our first series on offense. It was run on first down. It was run on second down, and then we tried to throw it with Dwayne, and Wes Martin got blown up by Jackson, and it was 3 and out. And I thought that was first of all, the first down run wasn't all that impressive. We came out, remember, we talked about, and I brought this up on the Friday show saying, look, I don't know if you guys watched Thursday Night Football, but I said, look, the Texans came out in a 2-back system, in a 2-back formation. And I think we're going to see a lot of that with Washington. And we saw a lot of that early in the game. They went away from that as the game progressed. But we saw a lot of that with McKissick and with Antonio Gibson early in the game with both of those guys in. And they started the game out like that. And we weren't getting a lot of yards on the ground, but they insisted on running the football. And so we went run, pass, punt. And meanwhile, the Eagles came out. And you remember, the second down run was a stop by Brandon Graham, at least a 4-yard loss. I mean, it was a great play on the backside. We tried to run a counter away from him, and really the backside was supposed to be taken care of by a pulling guard, but Wes Martin didn't get over fast enough, and so Graham just beat him to the spot, got to, I want to say it was Gibson, before he could even get started, and next thing you know, you're in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, and then Wes Martin got his ass whooped, and that's your drive. And so Eagles get the football conversely, and they come out aggressive. Their foot is on the gas pedal. They're throwing the football. Wentz, I think, on that drive was 4 of 5, including 3 receptions by the tight ends for 36 yards, and of course the touchdown to Dallas Goedert to get them started. Or Zach Ertz, I think it was Ertz on the first touchdown, Goddard on the second one. And just like that, it was a big play to Goddard to get him started. It was another big throw over the middle to Deshaun Jackson. And then it was another throw to Goddard. And then it was Ertz, touchdown. I mean, it happened so quickly. They were so aggressive. They came out and they took it to us. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that they were aggressive. I told you I wanted us to have some tempo. I wanted us to be the one controlling how the game went. And the Eagles came out, and I thought they established that early in the game. But this was the part that was disheartening. Look, the Eagles are a good football team. They've got talent. So they're going to make their fair share of plays. I wasn't expecting a shutout. 3rd and 5, you get an offsides on Chase Young. Then you get a missed tackle by one of the team captains on the team, Landon Collins, in the backfield. Should have been a 2-yard loss. Instead, it ended up being a 3-yard gain. And then you have a sack by Bostic that was missed. He lets Carson Wentz duck under him. Now, he holds on for dear life to his ankle, but Wentz still gets rid of the football, so it's incomplete instead of it being a sack. These are things that you can't afford to have happen when you're playing good teams. Like, you can't miss Kyler Murray. You got to get him on the ground or he's going to make you pay. So those were all things that were just troubling early in the game. You got a chance to get off the field on 3rd and 5. And it's a rookie. And if you watch the games around the league, because there are no fans in the stands, I think those hard counts are working even more effectively because a lot of players were jumping offsides, not just our guys. But they cleaned that up as the game progressed. But we had quite a few offsides penalties throughout the course of the game, including one where Chase Young beats his guy around the edge. It's partly because of the penalty, but I thought he didn't jump offsides. Remember, they called the penalty on Matt Ioannidis. He was the only one. I thought Sweat, all 3 of them jumped. All of them flinched. Ioannidis, Sweat, and Young. But I think Sweat and Young were able to get back. Ioannidis, however, was not. Young beats Jason Peters out of his stance, gets to Wentz, ball pops into the air, it's picked off, but it didn't count, obviously, because of the penalty. But then I had another issue here in my notes. Conservative 3rd and 2 play call. We run the ball and get stopped. Again, the run wasn't working effectively enough for you to feel comfortable enough with a run on 3rd and 2. You run it on 3rd and 2 with the notion of if we don't pick it up, we're going to go for it. That's the only time I'm comfortable with a 3rd and 2 run, unless you're having success running the football or you're going to spread them out and you feel confident that you're going to be able to pop this run for 3 or 4 yards and move the sticks. But we weren't running the football effectively enough to feel comfortable to call a run on 3rd and 2 to get stopped and have to punt. I just didn't like, and I was talking to somebody on Twitter, or it might have been underneath the video that I did yesterday in the comment section, the overtime video. And he said, I wasn't that impressed with Scott Turner's play calling early in the ball game. And I said, neither was I. I was going to talk about it on the overtime show, but there was too much excitement. No one wanted to talk about that yesterday. I didn't even want to talk about that yesterday. So that's why I kind of put that stuff on the back burner. But, his play calling was not impressive early in the game. I thought it got better as the game wore on. But I thought early in the game, really up until the Fabian Moreau interception, I thought the play calling was really lackluster. It really put this team in some tough spots. And I thought Dwayne was not very sharp. I actually tweeted that out during the game when we cut the lead to 17-7. I think I even did it at halftime where I said, look, Dwayne has not been sharp, but there's plenty of football left to be played. Because, again, I was still confident that we were going to win. So there's still a lot of football left to be played, but he is not showing well in this game right now because I felt like he was a little juiced up, a little antsy, and give credit where credit is deserved. The Eagles front, they were putting pressure on Dwayne, even though they hadn't gotten to him yet in the ball game. They were applying pressure. The pocket was collapsing. He was having his process sped up. There were a lot of ground balls from Dwayne. There were a lot of balls poorly placed. He was struggling early in the game, and I thought he got it together in the second half. He got into a much better rhythm. I got this down in my notes. After Sweat's offsides, Kerrigan comes up big with a sack, and then Kerrigan follows that up with a great play, sniffing out a screen to bring up 3rd and 22. And Darby gets beat for 55 yards. That one brought back nightmares. I literally, because when these games are going on, a lot of times I'm standing up because I'm a nervous wreck. So when that 55-yarder happened, I sat down. My head started to hurt because I've seen that movie before, and what really made it even more sickening is that I heard Eagles fans laughing in my head. Y'all got Darby. That's what y'all get. Y'all gonna have a lot more of that coming. And I said, this is ridiculous. How do you give that up on 3rd and 20? Where are the rest of the defenders? Why are we in, cover 3 or cover 4? Why is there no one else back there? This should have been some kind of 2-man where it's safety's over the top, everything's in front, and how are you allowing a guy to get on top of you in a 3rd and 22 situation? I couldn't grasp that. I couldn't wrap my brain around that. It happened again though, later on in the game. But I put down in my notes here, Chase with the sack, forced fumble to force a field goal. That's when things started to change defensively. We were down 14-0. The Eagles were driving again. If they get in the end zone on that particular possession, matter of fact, it was 7-0. They get in the end zone there. They ultimately scored again on the Dallas Goedert touchdown. If they get in the end zone on that particular possession to make it 14-0 and ultimately 21-0, I don't know if this comeback takes place. I don't. I really don't. But that sack by Chase Young kind of settled the defense down. They settled for a field goal, even though they later got the touchdown to Goddard and to extend the lead out to 17-0. The defense kind of settled in, but the offense wasn't pulling their weight. And like I said, I felt like a lot of that was due to poor play calling, some nerves and some jitters from Dwayne, offensive line not being as sharp early in this ball game. They got better, as did Dwayne, as the game wore on. So did Scott Turner. I thought his play calling got better. For instance, in the second half, early in the second half, I want to say one of our first possessions, if not our first possession of the third quarter, Dwayne, first down, they run a bootleg with Dwayne. Great fake, comes out the backside. Terry McLaurin's coming across the field. He's wide ass open, and Dwayne, he's just behind him slightly, And it was plays like that where I said, okay, Scott's getting into a rhythm. Eagles weren't looking for that. Caught him off guard. That should have been a nice 15 to 20-yard gain. Instead, 2nd and 10. That's on Dwayne. So I could see Scott Turner getting into a little bit of a rhythm. And you know, you could see this team starting to put some things together. But don't forget about right before halftime. We get the interception. Moreau with a big play, to me, changed the entire complexity of the game. You're down 17-0. You got no momentum. Fab gets the interception, puts us in a position where the offense has a short field. They take advantage of that short field. We get in the end zone at 17-7. You're thinking, okay, 17-7 at halftime. I'm cool with that. Maybe we could get greedy, get a stop here defensively, get the football back and score again, get a late field goal. You know, Dustin Hopkins missed a field goal early in this game, so you're saying, well, damn, what else can go wrong? And I told D-Hop, get it out your system now. Because, you know, my girl was watching the game with me, and she's like, damn, we missed a field goal. Is he going to make the field goal later? I said, look, one thing you don't have to worry about is Dustin Hopkins. That's my boy. I got him. I had a talk with Dustin after the miss. He told me, yo, it was from 48. I tried to put too much leg into it, and I shanked it. All right? I yanked it all the way left. He said, don't worry, I'm good. And I was glad that the second field goal was a nice chippy. So he didn't have to try to put a lot of extra leg into it, because the one later in the game was a lot further, and he was able to bang that home, no problem, to put the game essentially away. So I talked to D-Hop. He told me what happened on the first one. We were good. So you're sitting there at 17-7. And I'm like, man, if we get a stop here, we might get the ball back. We still had all 3 of our timeouts because we didn't use our timeouts. The Eagles used their timeouts to get the football back. You see how aggressive their coach is. He's using timeouts with us with the football, trying to get it back so he can have a chance to try to score, put some points on the board. And it would have worked if Carson Wentz didn't miss, because we had an opportunity to go back-to-back possessions with an interception. Kevin Pierre-Louis, KPL, drops perfectly underneath in a hook zone right under Deshaun Jackson as Wentz is staring him down, takes him straight to the ball. KPL is in perfect position. Ball goes right through his hands. Straight to Fabian Moreau, who's thinking, no way this football is getting through him, through Deshaun, and to me. And it does. He's diving down trying to get it. It hits him in his knees. It's incomplete. The very next play on 2nd down, Wentz has their rookie wide receiver Jalen Reagor open for what would have been a 75-yard touchdown if Wentz puts this on the money. I mean, if that doesn't make you sick to your stomach, I don't know what else does. Because if Wentz hits him, he's running into the end zone in stride. Apke's not catching him. It's 24-7. All the momentum that we just gained is lost. And the game is probably lost at that point too. But instead, we caught a break. Wentz overshot him. We ultimately get off the field. We get the football back. We go to halftime at 17-7. So there's some things to clean up defensively. And I thought Apke did a better job. He was late on the Dallas Goedert touchdown. I thought he was a lot better in the second half. Some of those throws that were over the top, he was there. He was at the party on time and ready to react if action needed to be taken, but it didn't. But we had some senseless penalties early in the game. How about the stupid Landon Collins penalty on the sidelines? Running backs 3 yards out of bounds. He pushes him on the ground. Why? Troy Apke's penalty, I was a lot more forgiving of Troy for that one because he didn't expect the receiver, John Hightower, to drop the football. But he did. And when he dropped the ball, he went down into a position that Troy was already going down towards to hit him. And so their helmets collided. That was a tough one. Troy was put in a tough spot on that one, but it still was a dumb penalty, and it cost us. So we had some foolish penalties, some offsides, a lot of undisciplined things that we did early in this game that against a better team comes back to haunt you. It hurts you. We've got to be better, but we did a lot of good things in this game, okay, especially on the defensive side of the football. I feel a lot better about the tight end position. This week, I still have my doubts about the tight end position, but the percentage went up from 0% confidence in the tight end position to 7%. Hell, we're trending in the right direction. I feel a lot better about Logan Thomas this time this week than I did this time last week, okay? He showed me some things, touchdown grab, a nice catch over the middle of the field. How about the diving catch on a ball that was thrown away from an outstretched defender. Thomas has to dive for it. Not only does he make the diving stab, but this is 3rd and 5. He has the presence of mind to then get up and dive for the first down. Hell, let me up his percentage to 10% for that great play in a crucial situation late in the ball game as we're trying to put it away. I thought Logan Thomas had a really strong, and he broke up an interception. I thought he had a strong game. I have 10% confidence in the tight end position now after having 0 coming in to week number 1. So some good things were learned. The secondary, you gain a little bit more confidence in them. Still question marks about Troy Apke. Give him a chance. That's all I'm asking you to do. I know a lot of you were ready to bury him. A lot of you were ready to bury Darby after the 55-yarder. Give these guys an opportunity to make mistakes, correct them, and get better in this scheme, okay? I gotta tip my cap to Jack Del Rio, though, because after seeing Apke get beat for that deep ball, after seeing KPL get beaten, Apke not get there in time on the Dallas Goedert touchdown, after seeing Deshaun Jackson get loose and could potentially could have caught that ball that went through across the field that he wasn't able to get to. After seeing all of these defensive breakdowns and guys getting behind us, he never took his foot off the gas pedal. He easily could have said, you know what, probably shouldn't blitz because these guys aren't handling it well. No, he kept his foot on the gas pedal. And I said, if you let Wentz duck out of one more sack, I'm going to smack somebody. And they started to really get to him and understand it. His first inclination is to duck when you're coming at him. Like Tony Romo's first inclination was to spin. You got to know who you're playing against. They started to bag him up and not allow him. And they also made sure they grabbed his arm because Wentz will still try to throw it. And that's why he fumbles the ball all the time. They did some really good things defensively. The corners were outstanding. This was a fun one, man. Fun one. And a lot to learn. We're going to take a look at the film tomorrow. Should be a great film study. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Get involved. Become a patron so you don't miss out on film studies this year with this football team. And this one's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to break down some of this tape. So let's get to in other news where Ron Rivera addressed the media both yesterday and today. I really want to focus on what was said today. He had a day to digest the game, everything that took place. I don't know if you guys knew, but Ron Rivera was exhausted at halftime and had to have an IV. If you paid attention in the second half, he had a black bandage around his arm where the IV was inserted. The needle was inserted. So he was exhausted at halftime. He was mentally drained, physically drained, as you could imagine, going through what he's going through right now. And Dwayne Haskins had to give the halftime speech along with Jack Del Rio. So I thought Dwayne showed extreme leadership, and Ron even piggybacked off of that and said, yeah, this is why, we had the challenge issued to Dwayne that we did, because in situations like this, we need him to step up. And Dwayne did that in this game. You could talk about his play on the field. He wasn't great. I thought he was good. A buddy of mine asked me, so how would you grade your offense? We were D+. We weren't good in this game offensively. The defense set us up for all 3 of our touchdowns in this football game. And honestly speaking, we left a lot on the field. There were some throws that Dwayne missed. There were some opportunities that were missed in this game. Guys were open. Opportunities that we left on the field. That being said, we took advantage of the opportunities that the defense gave us. That's something that we failed to do last year. So that's a step in the right direction. But we've got a long way to go. And I told you guys before the season started that I thought the offense would be lagging behind the defense dramatically. And I told you I thought it was going to be a slow start to the season for Dwayne and Scott Turner. And I said, as the season progresses, they're both going to get more comfortable with one another and what they need to do. And you're going to start to see this offense take off and flourish. We're not there yet, but they took advantage of the opportunities that the defense presented. And that's all we can ask for at this point. So I was really pleased with that. Rivera was as well. He talked about that in his presser, how, the defense stepped up, created short fields, and most importantly, the offense took advantage, because your defense can create turnovers all they want. If you don't do anything with those turnovers, it doesn't make a difference. If you don't score any points off the turnovers, all they are turnovers. All you did was cut the field in half or shorten the field a bit, and maybe you'll be able to pin the opposition deep in their own territory. But if you're not getting any points, it's no harm, no foul. You have to make turnovers sting. And we did yesterday by scoring 21 points off of turnovers. So that was massive in the game yesterday. And Rivera also talked about how, it was emotional in the locker room and how, that was great. But he said he was emotionally drained, and physically drained after the game was done. He also talked about how this defense is evolving, and I found it interesting that he talked how in the offseason he was trying to rewire the brains of the defensive linemen. Remember how much the defensive line loved Jim Tom Sula. And they swore by Jim Tom Sula. And so all of the defensive techniques that he had shown them, they were still using. And Ron was like, that's not how we do it here. And so a lot of those guys weren't buying in initially. He's like, everybody outside of Chase had been here before and had been taught something else. And so we had to try to rewire their brains. And a lot of these guys weren't necessarily receptive to it early on. But, when you have games like this and you have the kind of success that we had in this ball game, it reinforces all of the things that we were trying to instill in them. And now, when you have success breeds success, and guys buy in a lot easier when they see the things that you're telling them come to fruition and start to work. And so that's why I felt like yesterday's game, because of the way it played out, was even better than just a start to finish domination by the team. The fact that we fell down 17-0 was huge because it showed the team, and I said this yesterday, but it showed the team that under any circumstances, we're not out of the game. And coaches preached to us that we got to fight from start to finish. It may not start well, but we've got to continue to fight because we're capable of coming back. We're a different team. We're never going to give in. And coming back from that deficit, chipping away slowly, that to me builds the kind of trust that you need as a staff from your players when you're coming in and everything's new. And that also builds a belief. It builds a belief that we can do it no matter what the circumstances are. We're never out of it. We believe in the defense. We believe in Dwayne. We believe in Dustin Hopkins. We believe we can get it done. And don't forget about the impact that a guy like Tress Way has as well. He's so good at what he does. So I needed to state that as well. But Rivera talked about how, look, for as good as it was Philly in week 1 versus Philly, and I told the guys to really celebrate, enjoy it. We got Arizona coming up, and that's a totally different animal that we're going to be dealing with. In case you haven't watched, Ron said, in case you haven't watched, their quarterback, pretty damn good over there. And he's a tremendous athlete. And he hit the NFC defending champions for damn near a bill yesterday on the ground, including the game-winning touchdown. So this isn't a guy you can lose integrity in your rush lanes. This isn't a guy you can rush up the field on, or a guy that you can just blitz. Because if you don't get there, if he finds a seam and you blitzed 6 guys and everybody else is in man-to-man, it could get really, really ugly really, really fast. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of devise a scheme. And oh, by the way, they've got one of the best, if not the best, wide receivers in the game. This is vastly different than what we saw in Philadelphia, where none of those guys scared us. They got the best, one of the best in the game. All right, he's coming off of a 14-catch, 151-yard performance, just in case you didn't know. Now you know. So our corners that we like, that had a good game, they're going to be tested. So, and they still got Larry Fitzgerald and Cameron Christian Kirk and a number of other guys. We'll talk about the Arizona Cardinals on Wednesday. I still want you to enjoy yesterday's performance, but I'm just telling you what Ron had to say at the podium. He also talked about Dwayne and him getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He said, look, Dwayne made a lot of good reads. Dwayne got rid of the football. He went where the ball was supposed to go. He went to the spots that the ball was supposed to go, and that's the most important part. I think there were a couple of plays where I beg to differ, but he said, all in all, Dwayne was just a little antsy. He said, I'd like to see him put a little bit more touch. Remember, that was one of my complaints about Dwayne last year is I'd like to see a little bit more touch. Everything seems like it's on a rope. It's on a line. Put a little bit more air under the football, man. Make it a little bit softer of a catch for some of these guys. I think he lacks touch at certain instances and times. I'd like to see him put a little bit more air under the ball, but he said, as the game wore on, the offensive line got better because he specifically talked about Wes Martin getting his ass whooped on that first third down by Jackson. But he said, Jaron Christian got beat on the sack force fumble. He said, but I told those guys, stick with it. We need you guys. Stick with it. You're good enough to get it done. And as the game progressed, they got it done. So did Dwayne. And guys played well, man. He talked about the secondary playing well. Cameron Curl stepping up, which I mentioned yesterday. He was a pleasant surprise. I offered up and issued a 00 for Cameron Curl because he deserved it. I was wrong about him. So, guys stepped up, man. That was fun yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Can't wait to take a look at the film tomorrow. But in any event, that's going to do it for Washington Football Nightly. Monday Night Football is taking place. So Giants are playing. So there is interest there. Hopefully the Pittsburgh Steelers take care of business and we're able to be alone atop the division, even if only for 1 week. It'd be nice to be 1-0 while everyone else is looking up at us at 0-1. And so we'll have plenty to discuss about this team tomorrow on the show. We'll be live on this show on Wednesday, and then we'll really turn our attention on that live show towards the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get our first look at them. We'll go behind enemy lines on Thursday, and then I'll give you my prediction for the game on Friday. But tomorrow we'll take a look at the film. We'll discuss that and some other things. So it should be a lot of fun. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys. In any event, you guys take care. Stay safe. We'll reconvene at a later date and time. This has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35. The 30.